welcome to everybody from all over the world. And hi there, Simon. I hope you're doing well. My name is Tim Neckerbrook. I'm the head of the marketing at the Albini Group, which is an Italian family company and which is the proud owner of the iconic shirting mill Thomas Mason. Since 1796, we provide designers, brands, retailers, and bespoke shirt makers from all over the world with unconventionally iconic fabrics. Today's symposium, hosted together with Permanent Style, is one in a series of many where we bring industry experts from all over the world together to share their views on several hot topics regarding luxury menswear. Simon, you will remember that this year's original plan was actually to continue with our live world tour, a bit like rock stars, and to bring our symposium after being held last year in Florence, Hong Kong, Tokyo, and New York, this year to London. I think we should have been in Stockholm more or less now, and also to Paris, but then COVID-19 came up and it made an abrupt stop to everything and to our plans. But here we are, as we can pivot our business model. Here we are with the first digital symposium. And I think given this current transition from physical to digital, and given the fact that also a quality mill like ours, who's selling mainly a tactile product, shirting fabric, has to test and learn how we can shift our go-to-market. Together with you, we thought it was a great idea actually to bring some of the finest experts in menswear together and actually discuss about this topic of how transforming a retail business or a shirting business from a physical business to actually a digital pleasure or experience. So thanks to you, Simon, for being here again, also in this new format. This is a very interesting experience. And I'm giving you the host. Enjoy the talk.
Thank you, Tim. And thank you very much to everyone for joining as well. As Tim said, this is the first symposium we are doing online, doing digitally. Our speakers are just joining us now. And I think it's great timing, the fact that obviously we'd rather all be in Stockholm or Paris or doing something live in person, but at least we are online digitally doing a digital symposium and talking about these things online. So I think hopefully it'll make a really interesting topic. I found in the last, certainly couple of months and more frequently the last couple of weeks, that a lot of people I'm talking to have been saying, we run a luxury business here, which is very high touch, it's very high engagement. It's about offering people a lot more sometimes than you get in a regular just online business. So how can we adapt to a new world? We want to do things that are more digital when we can't do fittings so easily, we can't do trunk shows. How do we kind of bring that luxury experience still to everyone? And what I really wanted to do with the talk today is do a mix of talking about people who are bespoke artisans who haven't done much in the way of this kind of video and online business before, and then also physical shops and online shops, and also a mix of people who've been doing more online business for quite a long time, and see if we can kind of share some best practices, share some experiences, hopefully learn some things from each other, but also learn some things for all of the people who are listening today and hopefully will watch this video and recording as well. So I'm just briefly going to introduce our speakers and then we'll run around. I'm assuming not everyone is seeing all the speakers in quite the same orientation that I am, so I won't assume it's the same order. But going in the order of what I can see, we have Mark Cho, co-founder of the Armoury in Hong Kong for us this evening, very kindly staying up late. We have James Sleater from Cad and the Dandy here in London. We have Luca Avitabile from Bespoke Shirtmaker in Naples. We have Chris Callis, head of product development at Proper Cloth, currently in Nantucket, I believe. Yep. And we have Greg Lellouche, founder of No Man Walks Alone, who is in New York, I think, from seeing the studio behind him. A couple of quick housekeeping things. We're going to have a chat. We're going to talk to each other. Anyone out there can ask a question. You can ask a question you should see a little message symbol on the bottom right of your screen. You click on that, you can ask a question. That will go through a brief moderation process with Thomas Mason, who'll then publish the questions for us to see, for everyone to see, so we can kind of interact with you. But it'll also be my job as chair to kind of keep an eye on those questions and to send them around to everybody and try and keep this interactive if we can as well. So let's get started. Luca, maybe we can start with you. I know you're very much a traditional bespoke shirt maker and doing all of your business traditionally, really, in terms of measurements and fittings in person. But in the last couple of months, you started doing more things digitally and with video sessions as well. How's that going, and how have you found the process?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to share with you this my small experience. We are a small company, as you know. We are just like 4 people working in the atelier, and then 7 people in the workshop. So my experience is, as you all know, bespoke shirt making means a personal meeting with the client at least twice. So first time is for the measurements and the fabric choice and all the details about the shirt that we are going to make. And the second appointment is for the fitting of a trial shirt. That makes the process. That's why it's called bespoke, which is different by made to measure or made to order, as you know.
Mm-hmm. And so, what have you been doing? Have you been changing things recently?
So since I wasn't able to travel and to meet in person the clients, then I started offering video chat appointments with for new and existing clients. So basically, you can fill the form on the website, and then you take an appointment remotely with me personally. And then for existing clients, is not a big problem. It's just a matter of picking the cloth and eventually small adjustment on the pattern.
Okay.
And then it's easier. They can just place the order, and I go, because I keep the personal pattern of each of my old existing clients. For new clients, that's a bit more complicated. So we try to find a different way for each case. So some of the customers, they send me their own measurements. They have, because some of them they keep in the record of their measurements they had made by the tailor. Some of them they send me a test shirt, a sample shirt, and then I can try to build a new shirt based on that shirt.
What do you I mean, as a bespoke shirt maker, I'm sure your concern is always to get the absolute perfect fit when you're doing something in person and to see everything yourself. I mean, presumably you sacrifice a little bit if you're doing measurements remotely or you're having to copy a shirt they already have.
Yes, of course. The result, it won't be 100% the same comparing the other experience, the personal physical experience meeting. But if we go slowly, step by step, we analyze each case one at a time, then we can have a good result, let's say 90% good for the first shirt.
Okay.
And then we can have another video chat to see the fit of the final shirt, and then we can place a big order.
Okay. And I think you said, you mentioned that you were offering kind of free returns throughout the process for customers as well. Is that so that if there are like small changes needed, you're covering the cost of doing those small changes through the post?
Yes,
basically?
I mean, considering the fact that I don't have travel expenses in this moment, then I need to offer something to the clients to let them feel much more comfortable going through this process.
Okay.
So we offer a free return. We arrange a shipping label for them to send back shirts that need further alterations.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So that you're trying to increase and improve the customer experience that way. Maybe Chris can move to you. Sorry, Luca. I just Chris, maybe not everyone knows that much about Proper Cloth. Could you just give us a 30 seconds of background, and then maybe talk a bit about how your experience of doing shirt fittings online has evolved over time, so we can hear about maybe a whole process that Luke's really just at the beginning of.
Totally. Yeah, so for a little background, Proper Cloth is an online made-to-measure brand. We've been doing shirts for almost 11 years now, all full process online, and we've been doing tailored clothing for the last 3 or so years. So, in some ways, it's quite the contrast to Luca. From the beginning, we've sort of had to manage that entire order flow online, from fitting process to product design, selecting your fabrics, doing all of that, and then delivering the product right to the customer without ever having an in-person experience. So in some ways, things have sort of remained business as usual. We still have plenty of customers out there who are going through that whole order flow completely online without ever sort of contacting us before they get that first shirt. Now, things have still changed. We did have a showroom in Soho. We've closed that for the time being. We're sort of waiting to see what happens. We're not in a rush to reopen that. And we've moved to doing many more video consultations, which was not something we were doing before, but actually has been pleasantly surprising at how successful it's been, and something we'll probably keep going with even after all of this is done. And, I think Luca spoke to a couple of things, and I think a lot of it for us has been about trying to meet customers where they want to be met. So we have plenty of customers who say, I have a shirt that fits me incredibly well. In that case, we'll send them a shipping label. They'll send it to us. One of the members of our team will measure it. We'll try to replicate it as best as possible. Then they can go in, design, order, and get that shirt. We have an algorithm where they can answer essentially 10 questions about their body shape and the way they want things to fit, and that'll create a size for them, and that's a little bit more complicated. And then we'll do the video consultations, or just let somebody enter in a size from scratch if they want to do all the measurements their own. So
sorry to interrupt, just briefly on the measurement side, I feel like some points around like algorithms, entering your height, your weight, all of that kind of stuff is more driven by the online made-to-measure services that are trying to make that as automated and smooth as possible without too much interaction. The measuring side feels like that's particularly relevant to guys like Luca or James or other people trying to do bespoke online. What are your kind of best practices when you're trying to do like a measuring session with someone online? Like, are they measuring themselves? How do you try and prepare them for doing that in a good way?
We'll do them, in one of two ways. I think some customers, if we're in touch with them before the fitting process, we'll have them send a shirt in. We'll measure it on our end and send it back to them. I think some people just want maximum convenience, and that's great. And then we can have a video consultation from there to talk through things. But then there are other people who sort of want to get online and talk now and get their fit done as quickly as possible. And with them, we'll ask them in advance, is there someone else in your home or apartment that can help measure? We've made a bunch of videos for our customers to show them how to measure easily. And I think for them to prime themselves a little bit with that in advance. And then we'll also help, them and their husband or wife or partner or whatever, sort of walk them through that fitting process and measuring process during the video. And it's been, I think, pleasantly surprising at how well that's gone so far. I think the good thing is right now, everyone sort of understands that we're in difficult times, and we've found, at least for our customers, that people are quite willing to put in the effort to go through the process, and they're quite curious about how it can all go. And as long as you're really following up with excellent customer service when they get that product, I think you can have, a really fantastic experience for a customer still.
Saying that on the call we had the other week, you were saying how much one of your learnings over the last few years has been you have to really, really invest in the customer service afterwards. I think there's a lot of online services that feel like you just have to get people to enter a bunch of measurements, you make it to those measurements, you send it off, and that should be how it works. But actually, you have to really, really invest in the customer service and communication beforehand, afterwards, making sure they understand the measurements, making sure that what they get is exactly what they're expecting, working out why it is what it was. So it's kind of like it's a lot more time involved than you'd think, if you're starting an online service like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something that the bespoke makers are, it's part and parcel with their experience and product. You're going through multiple fittings. They really, they really expect for there to be high touch, high interaction throughout the entire process. And we recognize that to do that online, you have to bring that same attention to detail and commitment to make sure that a customer is really confident in the product they're getting. So even if a customer for us is doing the entire process online without ever contacting us before, we still see that period when they get that first shirt as sort of the start of the whole process in a way. And we try to follow up with each and every one with an automated email, or we'll do, a personal reach out to make sure that people are happy with their experience. We'll sort of survey them if they haven't given us any contact directly after receiving it, and really sort of being willing to bend over backwards on the customer service angle to make sure, hey, is it not fitting exactly the way you want? Is the cloth not exactly what you expected? Where are the pain points on that product? Because when we do that, and when we really put in that effort, even if it comes at some expense to us, we find that it pays off, in a big way long term. If you can really get somebody with a great fit profile and excited about the product all saved in online, as Luca said, things are a lot easier for that reorder customer. It's that first time process that's a lot harder.
And I guess the nice thing about shirts is, and Luca would be the same, like as long as you've got a pattern that really works and you've nailed that, then actually a lot of customers are happy just to order from that point onwards with no fittings or anything else. I mean, maybe James, if I turn to you next, obviously you're doing some shirts as well, but your majority of tailoring business. How have you found doing the?
Well, I think it's interesting, hearing both points of Chris and Luca of it being sort of either a purely online function or then doing, Zoom calls or FaceTime. Because one key thing actually that's also really personal about tailoring is the element of subjectivity. So, I always say there's no correct trouser length. It's exactly how you want it to be. So if you want it so you've got a full break, no break, swinging around your ankles, like lots of, guys in East London, that is totally up to you. So the measurements only give you one side of a story. And the other part of the story is actually getting a better sense of what the customer's trying to achieve. Because, a 15-inch trouser bottom to the average Joe doesn't mean much. But, to a tailor, knowing that one measure can immediately tell you whether it's, a very narrow trouser or a slim trouser. And it really kind of gets you that understanding and the sort of the vibe of what the customer's wanting. So I think that's what I've really enjoyed the most about doing sort of the online consultations is normally we have customers coming to see us in one of our shops. And especially in Savile Row, people can often be very scared to come in. And that's the problem that Savile Row's had from the get-go, is like the intrepidation, the fear of going through the threshold into a Savile Row tailor. Whereas when you're on a Zoom call, as you can just see, you're in someone's house, and immediately you kind of get a sense of the person. Yeah. And actually, and more often than not, it breaks down boundaries and barriers, and the element of fear has disappeared. So actually, you can kind of skip through a lot of the trying to relax the customer, because immediately they're in their own comfort zone, that you get a better idea of what it is they're wanting earlier on.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. It reflects that I was speaking to another made-to-measure company last week who was saying that their current plan list for next year is to carry on doing trunk shows if they can, but to halve or even cut by 2/3 the number of trunk shows they do, and actually do almost have every trunk show more like a kind of seasonal thing, like you do it twice a year, but really increase the engagement before and after with the customer. So they do calls with everyone who's come to the trunk show before they actually come there and meet in person, and then do follow up everything afterwards as well. And hopefully therefore make the trunk shows as efficient as possible. And they got to know the customer a lot better that way. Yeah. And it's not likely that the customer's then going to have a mistake, or it's not going to go that well, or they have to bring back something and then you're going to feel like, well, I have to wait 6 months for that person to come back now. Actually, there's a much better chance it all works quite well.
And that's also the beauty of Abe. I'm going to plug Thomas Mason quickly, but they have the fabric butler, and also we've been sending out cloth bunches to customers with a return envelope saying, right, you want an 11-ounce cloth, here's the cloth bunches, travel sets. The tailors will give us travel sets, and we can send them out to the customer. They can peruse them. The physical cloth is very difficult to get a sense of online. But actually, if you can have a preliminary conversation with someone, receive some cloths in advance, and then when a tailor does make a trunk show to DC, Chicago, or wherever it might be, you're kind of already one step ahead of the process.
Yeah.
So it can actually, using technology, can actually make things a lot more seamless. And, you know, as Chris was saying, really provide that sort of extra level of, you know, care and attention.
But I mean, Mark, maybe I can move to you next. I mean, I always thought of the Armoury as a store that has, you know, really prizes like one-on-one interaction with customers. And if I'm correct, I mean, one of the reasons when you and Alan first started the store is you really liked the experience of being at a bespoke tailor and how personal that was, that interaction. Want to have something more of that feel in a store. How have you felt that suffered during the last few months, and how are you trying to replicate a little bit of that online as well?
I mean, I'll be frank, it suffered terribly. The appetite for clothing in general, and especially tailored clothing, has dropped dramatically. You know, we have some customers who are doing reorders based on existing patterns that they have with our tailors. But, you know, since we work with an array of bespoke tailors as a middleman, as an agent, you know, it's not easy for us to take new customers. It's doable if it's going to be an existing customer, but it's not easy to take new customers. We've been working on solutions to that. So, for instance, like we will probably start in the next month or so taking measurements ourselves and then doing it in conjunction with the bespoke tailor on the call, so that he can still watch us go through the whole process. And we've been working on like some technology solutions to make that more viable. But, you know, frankly, like we are at the end of the day very much a brick and mortar store. We're not really set up to be a very like volume-based online business, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's a more delicate way to put that, I guess. You know, our production numbers are low. One interesting thing is that, you know, in Hong Kong, our stores didn't fully shut down. So they have stayed open throughout. We never went into like a full lockdown where the stores were not available in Hong Kong. So we still had customers coming in and out all the time and just like buying bits and pieces here and there. And that's where you could tell that just the appetite for tailored clothing wasn't there, right? Like people were buying, you know, shirts, polo shirts, trousers, maybe a little bit of knitwear like earlier on in the year. And then as for New York, we primarily relied on the online store, which has been fine. I mean, it was interesting to see what were the items that spiked in terms of demand. So for instance, like our briefcases started selling really well. I'm not really sure why that was.
Okay.
Neckties sold really well. Wallets.
Everyone's
my mother buying everything.
Trying to get a job in September. So I need to look good.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark,
honestly,
sorry.
Oh, sorry. Please, go ahead.
Just interested in that point you made about doing a version of the fittings where you or somebody else in the store is doing measurements, but has the artisan on a call or on a video. That's interesting because that's kind of between, I guess, Luca's approaches and Chris's in a way, because, you know, you're still doing the measurements rather than the tailor, but it's not the customer's husband or wife. It's like you with a bit more experience. But presumably, I mean, you're not a tailor, even though you have a lot of experience in doing that kind of thing. Do you try and control the expectations of the customer in that sense? Or do you say it's a different product, or are you trying to replicate exactly the same thing? No,
we do our best to be the eyes, ears, and hands of the tailor. And the technology setup we have, which involves multiple cameras and multiple angles, as well as fully recording the entire fitting process, should be enough to give the tailor a way to do the fitting. But we do add an additional fitting if customers need it. So if something's only a one fitting garment, it'll turn to a two. If something's a two fitting garment, it might turn to a three fitting garment, just to give the customer like that little bit of extra peace of mind.
Okay. Greg, I know that obviously you were doing made-to-measure tailoring before as well, but you've decided to stop doing that made-to-measure tailoring and just do made-to-order. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, that's correct. And also I would add that, I mean, for those who don't know Nomad Oak Salon, we are primarily a ready-to-wear business, and we're primarily almost only an online business. I think our in-person business is limited to what we can do in the showroom, and it's typically limited to either like private shopping once in a while or made-to-measure appointments for a handful of the makers that we work with, the artisans that we make with, so that we can, you know, provide a slightly different version of the ready-to-wear product, or expand a little bit out of that. So, I mean, being a primarily online business, I think the the COVID crisis had a very different impact from like a brick and mortar business. So we were shielded from a lot of the issues that relate to like foot traffic, so it had a different effect on us. What the effect it had on us was more of a reckoning of what a business like us should be. So it goes a little bit beyond, can we fit, can we not fit? How do we provide customer service? Because it's what we normally do and we always do. The challenge is to do it decentralized in a way where the team here can still communicate, and even if we're not in the same room. But I think I think for me, especially living in America, this COVID crisis is not a COVID crisis. It's just a lot more than that. It's more than just a pandemic that affects our business or other businesses. It's a pandemic that has affected people, that has created like massive social crisis, and it gives us the opportunity to become something else than just a place where you come and buy socks and shirts. To me, that's the most profound effect of this crisis on us. It's like turning us into a little bit more of a citizen and a store, and like understanding how we can use our voice and how we can like bring a community all together. But in terms of how we sell things, we just spend a little bit more time on chat. We essentially spend no time on phones anymore. So communication has been a little bit more, it's shifted a little bit from being like email, chat, phone, to being really a lot more chat and a lot more email and very little.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, certainly my readers have always kind of flagged what you guys do as excellent customer service in terms of the chat and the phone calls and the kind of feedback and the engagement they have with people, and trying to replicate, I think you said in the past, a little bit of the feeling of a physical store from that point of view. Why? I guess
we try to do better, actually.
Sorry?
We try to do better than a physical store.
Mark's gone. He can't hear you. It's fine.
You can hear me?
Well, I don't know. I can't see him. Maybe you can still hear us. I don't know. He's certainly coming back, apparently. The one thing I thought was interesting, though, is, I mean, I know you've been doing it for a while, but things like the video presentations you do of new drops of stock, for example, on Instagram, I've seen a little bit of those. I mean, that feels to me like the kind of thing that actually a physical store that hasn't done anything like that in the past could really benefit from. If I'm going to an Anderson and Shepherd or Connolly, or I'm used to shopping one of these more traditional stores, I feel like if I can't get in for a couple of months, I'm still perfectly happy to order the things I want, but it'd be nice to have a bit more of a window into that world. I mean, have you found those kind of presentations very effective from that point of view?
So yes and no. Actually, for us, strangely enough, it's become the opposite. By trying to be compliant with the rules in New York and not coming to the office more than one person at a time, we start doing those videos instead of starting doing them. But for a store that is allowed to be open and have their staff, I think it's an amazing tool, as long as you're willing to go beyond the gloss and the marketing and the brand. I think there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of brands that are really obsessed with having like a perfect sneer of how they present themselves. And when you go behind the scene, you kind of break that wall, and all of a sudden you see humans, that are like goofing off with shirts and trying things on that doesn't always fit. And I'm a big proponent of that. I don't really want. Our Instagram is nothing like the glossy, well prepared, well staged thing that a brand consultant would tell you to do. But I think it just makes it a more human experience. So yeah, I really do think that if you're a store and you can be in the store and you can turn on the camera and you can engage people and you can try things on, and Mark has done an amazing job in Hong Kong and with the videos every day. I think it's a really good tool to connect with people and to be able to show the product, show them on YouTube, on someone else. So I think it's a great tool. For us, it's actually been a tool we've used in the past and we can't really use anymore because it's just we don't want to be more than one person in the office at a time. Yeah.
Hey, Mark, you got a name check there for your videos you've been doing recently, and I think it's.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate
it. You should hear the things you're saying about you when you're off the air just now.
No, I heard it too. Believe me.
But I think you said, I mean, you started doing those kind of calls a little bit out of necessity, and you had some free time, and it was an interesting thing to do. But what have you learned through that process in terms of which kind of videos like the customers really value more, or even like convert more in terms of sales and interest in products?
Oh, you're talking about my videos?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, my. If you're talking about stuff that's going to convert into sales, primarily it'd be like question and answer videos about specific aspects of a product, right? Customer wants to know what are the special features of this, or how might you use it, or how might you style it. Like those do convert well into sales. But then there's a lot of other peripheral stuff, like the "What Are You Wearing" series that we do, or just even like deeper dive studies into certain products that we might not even sell regularly or something like that. Like those actually get better engagement in terms of like people asking questions, people viewing them, people spreading them around. So, we try to strike a balance. Yeah.
Okay. James or Chris or even Luke, have you tried anything like that in terms of being more social with?
I think when you're a physical retailer, bricks and mortar, sometimes it's actually very easy to be lazy and just say, well, you know what, we're going to start doing a ready-to-wear line, and here we go, we'll put it in our shop, and we know it will sell. But actually, I think if COVID's done an incredible amount of bad things, but what it has done is allowed a lot of businesses to kind of sit back, because business is closed in some respects. That it's allowed us, like Mark's thought of doing these videos, or us doing a ready-to-wear line, and it's allowed us those chances to reevaluate what and how we do it. Mm-hmm. And fundamentally, I think everybody's kind of saying the same thing, that actually all of us are just trying to aim to give a better customer experience. And I think that the key thing behind all of this is that, to sell our products now, we have to kind of tell the story, because people aren't necessarily going to physically come into the shop, or certainly there's going to be a reduced amount of that. So we have to kind of tell the story of what we do, whether it be, Luca and Harry makes the shirts, or a ready-to-wear product that any of us are offering and selling. It's kind of telling the story. And I agree with Greg, it's removing the veneers. I've always like the sort of warts and all approach of all of this, and kind of just saying, look, this is who it is. This is how we do things, and please come in and we'll talk you through every single aspect of it. And that's what I think that we've really learned, is that we want to kind of tell our story more and be much more dynamic than a physical retailer.
Yeah,
I mean, Simon, I just wanted to add quick. Oh, sorry, James, I apologize, cut you off.
No, someone else came in.
For me, as primarily a brick and mortar retailer, like it's the experience a customer gets when he's in the store is not just about the product and the service, it's also about the physical space. And so this is why we shoot the videos in the physical space, and we speak to the camera as if we were speaking to a customer, because it does allow people to kind of at least momentarily transport themselves into the store and imagine what it might be like in the store. I mean, I started doing those videos probably because I had nothing else to do, but partly because I missed talking to customers, and customers appreciated kind of getting handled by us too. So that's a little bit more of the background to how the videos happened.
Chris, so you say as well?
I think to add a bit to that, I think one sort of obvious difference here, especially if you're someone who had a shop before, is that you have all this product around you to sort of pull out and talk to your customer about and really show them up close and personal. And that's one of the biggest difficulties with video consultation, or especially, if you are relatively new to e-commerce, you may not have all that product to show to someone right there and to really give them that full experience. So I think there's a certain amount of color, with what Mark has been doing on the videos, that just having all that content and having it sort of clearly communicated in a way that gives that product, you're communicating that sort of soul of the product. It gives you something to point to. It gives you something to give to your customer, so he can sort of understand the product in a better way. And when you're saying, oh, you might like this a little bit more than that, you can pass that along to the customer during or after a fitting for them to check out, so they can go and do a slightly deeper dive. Maybe something that's a little harder than trying to pull up a jacket on a screen and put it up as close as you can to the video camera and try to educate someone on a buttonhole. I think it's a lot more effective, maybe the way Mark has been doing, or even if it's just stills online with some good text. I know Greg has always had some really nicely written content for No Man Walks Alone. And it's that sort of stuff that just adds color and gives people the product knowledge that is pretty hard to communicate over a video conference, I think.
Sorry, Luca, you were going to say something?
I was saying, yeah, Chris, I agree with you. So I've been trying to put the fabric as much as close to the camera, and then you can't see nothing. So I'm with you. And at that point, the key, I think, is the fact that I think all of us, we know personally each of our customers, and then we know their families. We know
where they live.
Where they live. We know their jobs, and then it's easy for us to recommend something that suits them. So it's.
Have you tried doing that out of interest? Because I was having a tailor told me last week that they had a few people who were on furlough and coming off furlough, and they decided to have 3 or 4 people full time write to every single existing customer like a personal handwritten letter and a set of, I think it was only 3 or 4 swatches of cloth from the new season they thought they would recommend to them that would suit them given their lifestyle, their personality, what they already had in the wardrobe. I thought that was really impressive. Like compared to what you normally get in terms of service, that's kind of a way to do remote access, but really luxury level because it's such a high level of engagement.
You mean sending swatches physically to customers?
Yeah, sending swatches physically, but not just sending them, for example, the whole season's collection, sending them kind of like, that tweed jacket you got 2 years ago, these trousers just come out, they would go really well with it. Or I know you've always been looking for that particular kind of midnight blue for a tux. We thought you might be interested in this one. Like just demonstrating you have that level of engagement with customers that you don't really get with, I guess, a lot of other online businesses sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I'm going to do from September.
Okay.
Thank you for your recommendation.
I don't know how many customers you got. It might take you a while. I don't know.
No, that's definitely important to keep in touch with the customers with a nice email, with small things to stimulate a little bit, not too much, because I think too much of informations is our customer, they don't want to be email every day, or I think they want to be stimulated a little bit, just because we don't do big volume. I mean that's my point of view.
Yeah. Okay. We've had a lot of great chat on the thing, but it's mostly been hello from India, hello from Washington, hello from the Philippines, hello from which is amazing. Seeing everyone's coming from. We do have a question actually. Someone just asked how, from a kind of business point of view, are the mills or the fabric suppliers kind of helping with that cloth choice? Either any of you guys have that kind of experience, and feel free to give another shout out to Thomas Mason if you want.
Yeah.
How are you getting? How have the mills kind of been trying to fill that gap of being able to present the kind of new collections to you?
We've been working. Sorry to jump in here, but we've been working with a couple of the houses. Dugdale's going to give a quick shout out. We have agreed to stock their new range, the Merchant Fleece, to give us half a piece of every single one of their cloths, which means that we can buy it at a better price. Which means we can offer it at a better price, and also it means it's much quicker for us to make the suits. And that's their entire range of that new bunch that they just launched.
Wow, how many is that?
In January. It's not the world's biggest bunch. It's about 35 cloths. And then also Laura Piana have been incredibly supportive. So we've begun taking some half pieces of some cashmere and wool jersey cloths that they don't normally give to tailors. It's normally all for the sort of the wholesale ready-to-wear market. But they're supporting us by giving it to us so we can, make up a very limited batch of garments for bespoke customers. And they're limited to 20 jackets per cloth, per colorway. It gives us an extra thing that we can offer that's unique to us, that's being supported by the marketing endeavors of Dugdale's and Laura Piana. And it gives us something new and interesting, to work with as well. So actually, I found during lockdown, almost all of the mills that we work with to be hugely supportive, and like us, we're trying to be proactive and think of different ways that we can sell to the consumer. They obviously sell to us as businesses, and a lot of them have been really trying to think of interesting ways and ways that they can work together with us and the likes of the other guys, to try and think of different marketing endeavors, different ways that they can get their product to the consumer.
That was interesting. I guess that kind of, it's similar on the wholesale side to what Luca was saying about in terms of using this extra time and using maybe the extra even budget you have from not having to travel and see people to do extra things like providing, infinite number of free returns or whatever else. In the same way, a lot of these fabric companies, they're not going to Milano Unica or anything else and presenting, but instead they can just produce a lot more swatches or send out more cloth like you're kind of getting as well, I guess.
Exactly. And the Italians especially do sort of seasonal ranges. So Loro Piana are just launching their autumn winter collection, and we've already asked them for 6 mannequin lengths, so that we'll already have them in the shop made up as mannequins to exhibit to our customers, but at the same time that they can actually physically buy the cloth. So normally that would kind of be the other way around. They'd release the cloth to us as tailors once they've launched the product, but that now they realise that they need to get that into our hands and us to make the garments up, so we can show it at the same time. That gives them a bigger chance of converting for the customer as well as us.
Maybe a question for Mark and Greg. I find it interesting, the idea of how much you have to replicate the kind of luxury experience of being in a store in terms of social media and digital, because I think we can see in quite how professional like Mark's video looks, for example, quite how good he is at doing this kind of thing and how good his videos are being. Well, I feel like Greg, what you were saying, yours is a bit more behind the scenes, a bit not rough and ready, but a bit more kind of immediate. Do you think how much do you think we have to replicate that kind of the sort of luxury feeling of the products and the stores and everything else we have in social media, and how much there's a bit more leeway with Instagram and social media, but can you kind of push it too far and clearly not be taking it kind of seriously enough? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think I agree that when you're on social media and Instagram Live, there's definitely more leeway. There's even an expectation that you're going to have that behind the scenes feel to it. If you get more than that, that's amazing. But conversely, if you put live videos on YouTube, it's just not a good home for it. It's just going to look amateurish and like not polished enough, and not something that really looks like a video you want to watch. So I think the production level, obviously varies. There's a lot of variables around it. For us, it's really the limitations of what we know how to do, and the kind of like feel we want to give. You want that, come with us, like be in the room with us. And you've been to our showroom. Our in-person experience, I don't think it replicates what you would consider as an in-person luxury retail experience outside of. And we're not trying to. We are trying to be like very approachable. I'm not throwing stones at anyone. I'm just saying like the general like Madison Avenue luxury retail experience is not all that. Okay, so the question is, and that's why I was saying earlier, we're trying to be better than a physical store, is because physical stores are not always all that, and the luxury retail experience is sometimes, and I don't want to get political, but it's sometimes that's great for some people, but not so great for. It's an environment where how you speak, how you look, how young you look has a direct impact on the customer service, how you're treated, and how good you feel about shopping in that particular store. And I'm really talking about luxury out there. So what we're trying to do is like turn all that on its head. We, being an online shop, we never see the color of your skin. We don't care. We never see, we don't judge you for your accent, for your size, for any of those things. So we're trying to like give something that's just much more universal as an experience, rather than the one that reserved for a sliver of the population that so far so good has been like, shielded from any issues that other people have been seeing. So our online experience, I'm hoping, is better, more encompassing, more human than some of the luxury retail experience you can get
in the physical world. And then, of course, there's amazing physical retailers out there. But all I'm trying to say is, just as a general concept, we're trying to be better and not replicate.
Yeah, I think it goes to what James was saying earlier about the people. A lot of people are very intimidated about going to Savile Row, and just walking through and asking questions was very intimidating. And even I think even very good stores are very welcoming. People still feel a little bit nervous about going in. And I find, for example, even just I like the idea of actually just browsing like an entire shop's collection online before I go into the store, just because I always kind of feel like I'm going to miss something if I'm in there, not looking at the same way. And it's the same kind of thing. You almost want to prepare yourself and get a sense of the shop before you then go in there, experience everything in person. Mark, what do you feel about that kind of? Oh, sorry, Luca, you had a point.
No, just saying that before you had a really big gap between brick and mortar and the physical store and digital online service. Now I think they are going to mix together, and so every one of us is trying to do something in between the two things.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like that's the challenge, isn't it? The problem with online stuff a lot of the times it kind of flattens everything, and the same grey sweater looks the same no matter whether it's $100 or $1,000. How do you kind of make that a bit more luxury, and how do you kind of create that stickiness and that engagement you get with customers already at the moment? Mark, do you have any views on that, or what I was saying before about like how you kind of gauge the social luxury side?
I mean, I guess I could only really speak from an Armoury perspective. Like, we never set out to be a luxury store. It sounds stupid because obviously a lot of things we sell are pretty esoteric and pretty expensive, but we always tried to avoid any of that kind of more cliched wealth projection type imagery. When I designed the stores, the spec for the store, one of the key things for the store was that it should feel like a library you can drink in, right? Like, a lot of stores are designed so that as soon as you go in, if you're not buying something, you feel quite uncomfortable. And the standard for our stores has always been, you can hang around here for half an hour, for 2 hours, and you won't feel unwelcome. Because I think that's a really important first step. And then, like, I love tailored clothing. Like, the whole point of this business is tailored clothing. And so from the get-go, it was really important to make tailored clothing relatable. And by making it relatable and thus relevant, it could persist. Like, that's why we do softer jackets. That's why we have younger sales staff. That's why we are generally, I'd like to think, quite approachable, and we'll answer anything, be it a very simple question to a very complicated question. Like, I think that that is the Armoury's DNA, and thankfully it runs through, all of our sales team and how the spaces are built. Like, it's just a reflection of that culture. Now, as for like, is Instagram suitable for luxury or not? I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it, right? Like, the luxury, quote unquote, that Greg is talking about is big luxury houses that have a lot of money to throw at their fit outs, and they have beautiful marketing campaigns. But ultimately, like, it's almost like the salespeople are just the last point, the vending machine for the product, and all the actual like heavy lifting of why someone should love this brand has almost been done in advance. Those spaces are much more imposing. I think that with social media, you have a chance to make it very personal, and you should, and actually, like, Greg, you were saying that it would be weird to put something that's a little scrappy on YouTube. I don't agree with that, actually, I have to say. And normally I love agreeing with Greg, because Greg's a very smart man. But like, we just put up whatever on YouTube. In fact, I actually prefer YouTube to Instagram when it comes to video, simply because it's much easier to hold a library of content and organize it properly and search it properly. Like, unfortunately, IGTV, like, it's very sequential, and it's very hard to go back to something previously.
Yeah, or search to find it and so on. Yeah.
We
actually have oh, sorry, Greg, carry on.
Your videos are like YouTube quality, so you can do that. What I'm trying to say. I think if you have like a highly pixelated, like cell phone video, that it might just not be something you want to watch. I don't know. I have no idea, but I defer to you and your experience. But I feel like you need a certain level, a minimum threshold of quality that you need to reach?
So we shot the first 35 on a cell phone. Like we shot the first 35 videos on a cell phone. Yeah. In the end, honestly, it was just we just bought studio lights. It was like $300 to get some studio lights, and that helped a ton. It's surprisingly little investment on the hardware side to produce a pretty decent result. And then slowly, like, we upgraded. But even to today, it's really just me and one other colleague working on everything. Like, I think that technology has gotten to a point where you can achieve a lot with relatively little effort. And in fact, like, for instance, when we do our videos, I'm sorry, I keep coming back to videos. I apologize. I promise I'll stop talking about it soon. We do everything in one take, right? Like, we do no editing. So everything just comes straight out the camera and goes straight onto the internet. And that immediacy, I think, is really important, because that immediacy reminds people of what it's like to be in a store and interact directly one-on-one with somebody. If anything, like, the pixelated quality even adds to that feeling.
So we have also a few more questions kind of coming from people. I think one of them is slightly off topic, but I think it's interesting to get everyone's opinions. And we only have about 10 minutes left as well, which is, how do people see the work wardrobes developing and changing in the future? I think that's, Mark, you touched on that a little bit in terms of what you've seen, but maybe kind of Chris as well. What are you seeing in terms of what people are ordering? Is people still ordering business shirts from you, or what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, business shirts are way down, to be frank on that. Our casual shirt business is still fairly strong, a bit down also. I think just plenty of people who aren't looking to buy new clothes from the customer base right now. But here in the US, primarily people aren't really going into offices. And I think that's really what's dictating that. Our best guess is that probably this is going to continue to accelerate offices getting more and more casual, the way it's been going for a long time. But we still sort of see the passion from people who do care quite a bit about tailored clothing and artisanship staying strong, and I think getting even stronger if the sort of overall trend is getting a little bit more casual. I'm sort of curious to hear from some of the people outside of the US on this, because, you know, with the way things have been managed here, it just, you know, frankly, in New York and in most of the big cities, it hasn't been safe to go back to the office in really any way. But for some of the people outside of the US where it's been managed a little bit better, are you seeing people trying to go back to the office and think about office clothes a little bit more?
The UK just changed its guidelines on Friday to try and encourage some people back in, you know, more people back into the office. That being said, you know, I think there is obviously a downward trajectory on formal wear. And I think comfort is going to be the key. You know, 2 years ago, if I was doing this symposium with you, I'd be wearing a suit and tie. But, you know, even today now, as a Savro tailor, I'm wearing a casual jacket, and, you know, 3 days out of 5 I probably wear a casual jacket, and 2 days out of 5 I wear a suit. And I think that's the beauty of tailoring, is that actually you can do both. And if we were just making blue suits all day long of the same type, I would become insanely bored. So actually, it's the variety of what we can actually all produce that actually I think gives it the real sort of excitement. So I think you know that people will dress casually for the foreseeable, and you know there might be an uptick, and there's still going to be the guys, you know, rocking those amazing power suits that we all love and love to make. But yeah, we see the same sort of thing. So, you know, that's why we're investing in making jersey jacketings and polo shirts and all these things, just as another sort of string to the bow. So what you're saying, I don't think is any different to what I see.
I mean, I find it interesting in London that it feels like there's no lack of interest still in tailoring, and maybe because it hasn't just been long enough. You know, I still get just as many questions every single day from readers about the same kind of minutiae of kind of tailored clothing, but it feels like the opportunity isn't there. Like not only is there no one going to offices in central London, there's also no events, you know, so there's nothing getting dressed up with from that point of view. You're getting out to dinner as well. Sorry, Luca, you said.
Yeah, I'm sure that once people will be able to go to a restaurant, to go to a theater, or even a football match, they will be happy to show the people or themselves a new jacket, a new fabric, a new shirt. No matter if it's casual or formal, But I'm sure people, that's behind our words. So people that live, that have a life, that go out, that of course, if you stay at home, then everything becomes more. You lose everything. You lose the the interest of buying clothing, and but you have to do something.
But Luca, this is Italy. Like, in my mind, the image of Italy is you just walk around your house the entire time, in lovely tailoring, go for a little kind of passeggiata in the evening, and it's just like it's always elegant, surely. I'm
in Ischia now, which is an island just in front of Napoli, and my wife, yesterday we went to a restaurant, and she had the chance to wear his new dress, which was tailored by my employees, the girl that works for me, because now she has more time, and then she just made this new dress for my wife, and we enjoyed a nice dinner, nice evening, nothing special, but I mean, that's the
But it felt special,
mood.
and that's the main thing, isn't it? Yeah, and you
Yeah,
kind of want special clothes for that kind of special event, even if it's just going out to dinner.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've got a few minutes left, but I'd be interested if anyone has any, I guess, forward-looking thoughts. Like, this is how we're talking about mostly how things are changing in the last few months, how they're changing now. I mean, Greg, for example, are you planning any other changes for the next few months, or what's your view of what things are going to be like for the foreseeable future?
Well, I'm going to.
So I mean, we're still not completely. Oh, was it for me?
No, it's all right, Greg. Yeah, carry on.
No. Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, sorry. So I'm really bad at predicting stuff, so I don't want to say, oh, we're going to get back to getting dressed up and all that. I mean, I know there's always a little bit of a pendulum effect that happens. I do think that, after people have been wearing fleece shorts, like every day for, 4 months, when they have an opportunity to actually get out and like see people, they probably really won't want to wear that. They'll want a little bit of like a real clear demarcation between, my work from home, comfy outfit, and actually like spending time looking at my closet and getting dressed. I don't know if it means that people are going to wear suit and ties. I'm not really sure that's the case, although it's known that historically in economic recessions, suit and ties tend to come back. So it's possible that it will happen. Well, in terms of like how the business is operating, I think for us, it just gives us a little bit more of a flavor of what it feels like to be working remotely, as opposed to like be working here. And it allowed us to be able to like plan accordingly. But I really do miss some of the events that we do here, even though it's a small part of our business. It keeps things alive. But for us, it's just continuing to provide the best possible service in every way that the customer wants to communicate. So some customers like to chat, some people like to email, some people just like to buy a ton of stuff and return half of it. It's, you can't impose a way to shop. I've always been a big believer of that. So as people are like even more decentralized than before, we got to be even more flexible than before in addressing questions about fit, and in making sure that people they feel comfortable buying. And finally, I think that we just have an opportunity to tell people who we are, what we believe in. I mean, it's just really been a very important part of this crisis to me. It's not just looking inward into how our business can survive. It's looking out and seeing like millions of people sick, people dying, people just like stressed out. Just the overall like just difficult feeling that seeps through this nation, combined here with a lot of issues around just inequality and racial justice. It's really continuing to be a citizen and an agent of change, and not just a place where you come and like Bible. So to me, it's really the important way forward, the moving forward for us. And the manual salon is to continue to do that and to just be a more conscious, responsible, citizen-like operation where our voice actually is used for more than just selling stuff.
Yeah. Greg, I think that's fantastic. I think, and if unless anyone else has any strong opinions to add, I think that's a really nice place to leave it. It's nice to finish on a really optimistic note and to feel that we can have something which is quite so encouraging and positive out of all of this. So that's been fantastic, and it's been a great discussion. I've heard some really interesting things and people's perspectives on how things have been going on, both at a very small tailor to a big online company, from physical stores to online stores. So I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time today to talk to us, to talk to me about your experiences, and it's been fantastic. Thank you also to the participants who've come in and asked some questions and watched us. Thank you very much. This will also be available as a recording, probably on YouTube, following Mark's advice, and certainly on Permanent Style going forward, probably next week. Thank you very much again to Thomas Mason for organising and for helping us put all this together. Thanks very much, everybody. Oh, Tim, do you have some closing words? Sorry.
Well,
thank you.
No, I wanted to thank you all for joining us. Also to you, Simon, for taking this online as well, our normal symposium, live symposium. It's been a very fantastic, a wonderful experience. I saw the benefit of this is that we get speakers from all over the world, but also listeners who came from all over the world. So thank you all for joining. We have to do this again very soon.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.
Bye.
Great to see everybody. You take care of yourselves.